The Packers' initial 53-man roster for the 2019 season has been released, and the biggest surprise of them all, they kept that Aaron Rodgers kid. Really wasn't sure about him. Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to the episode of Packcast, the podcast where you know to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and as we just said, the 53-man roster, the initial 53-man roster, so pump the brakes just a tiny bit, just in case you're just like, boom, this is the team that we have, because it's going to change. It's definitely going to change. We got to go through waivers. We got to go through a number of things, but as of right now, the 53-man roster is set. Not too many big shocking revelations. A lot of what we were talking about in this past week's video from Tuesday, predicting what the 53-man roster was going to be, basically came true. One of the things that I'm the most happy about is, of course, Dexter Williams taking the spot of Tra Carson, because the coaches, you know, they said very clearly that Dexter Williams was the number 4 behind Tra Carson, but it looks like they saw the potential in him. I absolutely loved watching him in the preseason. His speed, his being elusive, and his initial cuts are just a work of art. So what we'll do is we'll go through the initial 53-man roster. We'll talk about some of the surprise guys who were released, and we'll take it from there. So starting at QB, as I predicted on Tuesday, and thankfully this came to pass, we only kept 2 QBs after last year deciding to keep 3. And we kept, of course, Aaron Rodgers and then backup Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle, by far, was the better quarterback in the preseason, doing even better than Aaron Rodgers, who I have to say his numbers were incredibly disappointing this past preseason. But Tim Boyle won the backup job. I am still not super duper comfortable or like, oh man, yeah, Tim Boyle as him being the lead backup for the Packers. But you also have guys like Brian Hoyer being released from the Patriots, and there's rumors already that the Packers are reaching out to his agent, so I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. So this does mean, of course, Manny Wilkins, Mr. Hurdling from Thursday night, is off the team, but more importantly, Deshone Kizer is also off the team. And so, obviously, this comes after trading him for former first-rounder Demarius Randall. The Packers loved Kizer coming out of the draft, but as shown last year during the preseason, he really didn't grow as a QB. He never really looked entirely comfortable there, and he was definitely beaten out by Boyle in the preseason. So there is no more Deshone Kizer. I do wish him well, you know, the former second-rounder. I hope he lands on his feet somewhere, potentially could be on a practice squad, because I've heard he is nothing but a stand-up guy. He does a bunch for the community. You know, he stays back and signs autographs and gives memorabilia to the kids in Lambeau. So again, you know, one of the things with the 53-man cuts is that you have a lot of people who, you know, their dream is to play football, and those dreams are over today. And so I'm not happy that any of these guys were cut. It's just, you know, it wasn't a good fit for the Green Bay Packers. Then, so we kept 2 quarterbacks. Then moving on to running back, we are sticking with 3. We got Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, and Dexter Williams. And so that means, of course, that we cut Tra Carson. I am super excited for Dexter Williams to be in that backfield. Obviously, they're going to use a lot of running back by committee. Matt LaFleur has stated that much. But you have a 1-2-3 punch now with 2 Williams and a Jones. So I am, that should be an indie band. 2 Williams and a Jones. TM, trademarked. But no real big surprises here, but I'm very, very happy that they decided to go with Dexter Williams. He has a ton more potential than Tra Carson did, and really, I think, it just exuded talent every single time he was carrying the ball. Then, of course, we kept fullback Danny Vitale, who's not a surprise to anybody. With wide receiver, we only went with 6, and there's a reason why. We would have had 7, but we'll talk about that in a second. So we go with Devontae Adams, MVS, Geronimo Allison, Trevor Davis, Kumaro, and Darius Shepard, the undrafted free agent who made the team, the only one this year. I'm super happy Darius Shepard made the team. I predicted that much on Tuesday, considering just the amazing catches that he had during preseason. In camp, he was having a great camp. Devontae was speaking highly of him and just like his football IQ. I'm super happy he's on the team. The guy who I'm a little bit surprised about is, of course, EQ. EQ went immediately to IR. I originally thought they were going to keep 7 wide receivers, and what they were going to do, because to go on IR with a designation to return, you have to make the initial 53. So you have to count towards the 53. And so for whatever reason, whether it is supposed to be the doctors know that it's a worse injury than they're letting on, or they're worried about the risk of re-injury, EQ has just been immediately sent to IR, which means he's out for the entire season. You know, it's a loss. It most certainly is. It could be worse, but it's not worth potentially re-injuring him. And of course, this means that former fourth rounder from last year, Jamon Moore, is cut, so he is no longer on the team. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if he ends up on the practice squad if he clears waivers. And also fan favorite Alan Lizard. Yeah, I'll say Lizard, just because I'm going to say his name wrong, just so I can have 100 of you in the comments go, you guys, he's pronounced Lizard, or Lazard, or Lazarus. Lizard, yeah, because he's a lizard person. But no, obviously, very talented guy. I hope he does clear waivers so we can keep him on the practice squad, considering we only kept 6 wide receivers. So just in case we need to send someone to IR because of injury, he would be definitely a great guy to potentially keep a hold of. Then the tight end, no real surprises here. We kept 4 with Sternberger, Tanyan, Jimmy Graham, and Mercedes Lewis. There was some talk maybe of like, oh, maybe Mercedes Lewis would get cut, but the guy is one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. I think Matt LaFleur is going to do a ton with tight ends. You're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets this year, and so Lewis definitely fits into those plans. Then with offensive linemen, we did keep 9. We did not go with 10, and so we kept Brian Bulaga, David Bakhtiari, Lane Taylor, Billy Turner, Corey Lindsley. You have Jenkins, Lucas Patrick, Alex Light, and Cole Madison not going to the practice squad, making the initial 53. I thought they would throw him on the practice squad just because, again, he took that year off from football, and he showed flashes of being really good, but he's going to be able to hopefully sit on that depth chart and learn, and hopefully for like the first time ever our offensive line doesn't actually get hurt. So it'll be good to hold on to him. We obviously cut Yosh, which is a bit of a disappointment. I hope we can get him on the practice squad too, because he definitely showed some potential. And of course, we traded Justin McCray to the Browns. Then moving on to the defensive side of the ball, and just to recap for offense, that's 25 offensive players, and because we just split it right down the middle. And then with defense, we had 6 defensive linemen that we kept. We had Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, Montrevious Adams. We got Lancaster, Kiki, do you love me? And Fadal Brown. We did cut Looney. Again, I said this. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up going on the practice squad if he clears waivers. So no big surprises there. Outside linebacker, we obviously traded Reggie Gilbert, but we kept Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Sackrell, and Rashawn Gary. And we did cut Randy Ramsey, who I thought we would keep again for the practice squad. Didn't really think that he would make the team. I thought Gilbert would make the team over him. But we decided just to go with 4 outside linebackers. And again, Ramsey could potentially make the practice squad because we got room for 10. With inside linebacker, we kept 4 here. So we got Blake Martinez, Oren Burks, James Crawford, and Ty Summers. Summers obviously played his ass off in this preseason. He was everywhere the ball was, had some missed tackles, but again, he shows a lot of potential, has a phenomenal motor. And then with Crawford, looked ugly in some of those preseason games, but I think we're just keeping him right now. But I think we're also just keeping him right now for the depth, just because we need somebody at that position. But I would not be surprised if the Packers go and target some of the linebackers that were waived today, that were released today, because we are number 12th for the waiver. And so, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we go after some of those inside linebackers. And then Bolton was also injured too, so we were able to stash him away. Then for cornerback, we kept, of course, Jair Alexander. We got, of course, Kevin King, who hopefully can remain uninjured. We have Tramon Williams, Josh Jackson, Tony Brown, Kadar Holman, and Chandon Sullivan. Again, no big shockers here. Sullivan, I think, obviously earned a spot, and Holman had an unfortunate injury, but hopefully is not going to be out for too long and be able to bounce back as he did in the 4th preseason game. Didn't play a whole lot, but hopefully, he can provide some well-earned depth there because he had a great camp. And then finally, with safety, we just kept 4 here with Amos Savage, Green, and Will Redmond. And again, Raven Green might be playing along the inside linebacker too. We might use him there. And Redmond had a pretty good camp and preseason. And then, of course, we just had the 3 specialists with Crosby beating out Ficken, Fracken, Ficken. So who knows which teams, looking at you, Bears, are going to give him a call. J.K. Scott, because he just got his high school diploma, and Hunter Bradley. So we have 25 offensive players, 25 defensive players, and 3 specialists. Now, again, about through Sunday morning, the players can still be claimed on waivers, and then we need to make room for them for the initial 53. This is just the initial. Things are most likely going to change. I would not be surprised if the Packers go after an inside linebacker and or a veteran quarterback. Who knows? Maybe they give Brian Hoyer a call. But as of right now, no big shockers. The team, what I'm looking at right now is that we have some damn talent here. We have some depth in places where we haven't had depth for quite some time. But I think that this is a pretty good damn team that we've assembled here. And I think, just to finish on this note, what I do like is that even though, of course, we would have loved J'Mon Moore to work out as a former fourth rounder, literally just from last year, is that we will not be hanging on to players just to hang on to them. Just because it's like, oh, we spent this draft capital on them, let's hold on to them for way longer than we actually should. And, you know, it's just misery for everybody, and it just brings the entire team's performance down. Now, again, there is potential that J'Mon Moore gets claimed on waivers, so he goes to another team, or he passes through waivers and we keep him on the practice squad and he could potentially bounce back and get on the team somehow, either this year or in future years. But the point is that we're not afraid to move on. I think Goot has been the kind of GM to prove this, whether it's talking about Spriggs, Daniels. You know, we're willing to kind of cut our losses with players that we don't see as like helping this team win a championship right now. And yes, that's brutal. Yes, that's cutthroat, but it's also football. But let me know what you think down in the comments about your initial 53-man roster right now. Do you think we're going to go after a veteran quarterback, inside linebacker, etc.? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media you see down below. Or you can check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course here on YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you all the Patreon members over on patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. So I might throw out another video tomorrow, because why not? Why not? 7 videos. Why not? Why not? And then the official Season 5 of Packcast will begin on Monday, and I cannot frickin' wait. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi, and as always, go Pack Go.